Clark, thank you so much for being here today for your second on deck interview.
Well, thanks for having me here. I enjoy doing this. I really enjoy getting the opportunity to speak to all of our shareholders. So thanks for doing this.
Yeah, you're very welcome. It's a lot of fun, and we've had some fun with this project, as you know.
Yeah.
But again, this is your second time, and I wanted to give you an opportunity to talk about something that we did in 2023, which was the employee engagement survey conducted later last year. But the results are now coming in and starting to take some shape. I think that's an important message to convey to our shareholders, don't you?
You bet. You bet. So we do this survey every year, and every year we get a little better at participation, and we get a little better at promoting it. So, the main objective of the survey is to make sure that we provide our shareholders a space that they can speak freely and tell us what they think. And so this survey has turned out to do that for us. What we get out of it is it allows us to check our messaging, make sure that the messaging we're giving to our shareholders is a consistent message and everybody hears the same thing. More importantly, it helps us identify our blind spots because, we think that we see the world one way, but we see the world from our vision.
For sure.
And what we think isn't really always what matters, right?
Right.
Rarely is. And then I think, as importantly, it helps us identify where we should take action and are we taking the right action.
Yeah. And I want to hear a little more about that in detail as we move forward. But I appreciate you explaining the purpose of why we do this. It's important to our company. And as a shareholder, it's important to me personally to know I have a voice. That really resonates with myself, and I trust that it does with other shareholders too, don't you?
Yeah, it does. We really do believe, and most of our shareholders have heard Lee Bushmaker say, a company can't rise above its people.
He sure does say that. Yeah.
He does, and that's true. We're an organization made up of people, and we can only be as good as our people are. So it's in our best interest as a company to make sure that we elevate our people the best that we can. And we do look at our survey results, and one of the things we measure is what's our participation rate.
So tell me a little bit about that.
Well, a national average for participation is about 45 to 50% of employees participate in a company survey. And the thought is that if you get 30%, you got a pretty good idea. Our last survey, we had a 68% participation rate. It is. I mean, what we hear is really good information. So we had 68% of our employees took our survey. We had over 400 comments. And those comments can be positive or negative. And there's a mix in there, and that's fine. That's exactly what we want. And one of the results that we're really, really proud of is a key measurement is employee engagement. How engaged are our employees in the business? Again, national average for companies our size is between 28 and 32%. We have 75%.
Yeah.
So
that's incredible.
We have an extremely high engagement rate in our company, which also speaks to the participation rate and people feeling free that they can talk to us.
I also think it speaks to the management team and the leadership group and their involvement. It's engagement survey. So they're engaging with their employees, shareholders, if you will, are finding that this is an important thing to do in our company. It's culture-wide.
Yeah.
Would you say?
It is culture-wide. And again, I think the thing about the survey is if it's not, and we're seeing different messaging, then we have to adjust.
Sure.
And we would.
So some of the areas that's lots of positivity. Tell me some other positive points that you learned you gathered from the survey. what did you hear that really resonated with yourself in leadership?
So in those 400 comments, people use language. And
Sure.
one of the things that our survey company does is they measure the number of times a word gets used positively or negatively.
Mm-hmm.
And we get what's called a word cloud. And it's just a cloud of a bunch of words. And they will tell us what are the words that are most used in a positive manner.
Mm-hmm.
And the words that we see come up over and over and over again: ESOP, safety, and family. Those are the three words that come up consistently that people really like about the company and where they work.
Yeah.
Then, we have words that we see that cause concern, like communication,
Sure.
lack of mobility,
Mm-hmm.
things like that. And those are the areas that we need to work to improve.
That's interesting. And so, um, let's talk about something that may not come up or does come up with frequency. I imagine in any survey, employee engagement survey, we farm this out, if you will, to a third party. Is that correct?
That's right.
So there's another company, so to speak, that conducts this for us, and through that company, we get these clouds of words that you mentioned a minute ago. Um, Tell me a little bit about that supposed concern about anonymity.
Well, it is a concern that employees have. It's a natural concern. Um, Everybody has taken a survey before where they feel like, well, if I say something, people are going to know what I said. We use a company called Energage.
Mm-hmm.
It is a third party. This is all they do is do surveys and help companies qualify for what's called top workplace.
Mm-hmm.
We have a couple of our branches that are on the cusp of being certified as a top workplace. You have to have 50 people in the branch or in an area to be labeled that. We have branches that would qualify, except we just don't have the right number of employees. But they're bound by industry regulations to ensure anonymity. So when an employee takes our survey, they don't tell us what their name is, but they'll tell us what branch they work in. They'll tell us what category they are. Are they material handler, truck driver, salesperson, whatever? Okay, so we collect all that information. Yeah. The anonymity part comes in that if there aren't at least 4 people in a group, then they have to group it in a larger group. So let me give you an example. We have more than 4 people in any one of our branch material handler groups. But let's say only 3 of them take the survey. Well, we can't look at that branch material handler. We would probably take truck drivers and put in with that group. And in the early days of these surveys, we had branches where we had to group the whole branch together. So we could see what a branch would say, but we couldn't see what a group would say because the size is too small. Okay. So we have to have a certain number of people in a group before we can say this branch material handlers feel like this. So it's really important for everybody to take these surveys, because if you as a group want to make sure that your voice is heard, everybody needs to take that survey. The comments that we get are always anonymous. So when we look at the comments, a comment will come in and it'll say, a truck driver said this. A salesperson said this. Well, we've got 45 salespeople. We have no way of knowing what salesperson is, but we can tell what's the message that our sales group is getting. What's the message that our Dallas branch is getting? What's the message that our material handlers are getting? So that's how we can measure how we're doing. And so as far as anonymity goes, I really want everybody to understand, you take this survey, we have no idea who you are, where you live.
I appreciate that, because I think that is something that folks may not feel free to say anything about, but you kind of know exists, right? am I really anonymous? But it truly is, especially when you're using a third party. So I really appreciate that explanation. Okay, so we've got great results just by virtue of how many folks took the survey. That's really positive. We learned about the ESOP and some positive things about engagement. And then we heard some things about communication that may be an area of improvement, let's say, right?
Mm-hmm.
So collecting all that information, Clark, what's next? What is Snavely doing about that information that you collected?
That's a great question, AJ. So we do use this information. We have in our strategic plan, we have three major legs to our plan, 3 categories, if you will, that we work on. We work on, and one of them is called best in class workforce. And that's where the survey comes in. Okay. So we look at it and we look at things and we say, okay, one of the things that we hear we can do better is communicate. So you and your team do this newsletter quarterly. It's a very good newsletter. And we try to communicate to our employees through that. We're doing this on deck, right? Why are we doing this? Because our employees have said, we want to know more.
Sure.
We want to be in touch. So we can use what we get from the survey to enhance how we build our culture. One of the things that we hear is, I want more access to training. I want more access to employee development. How do I get better? Where am I going? What am I doing? So we do have part of our strategic planning team working on things like succession planning, skills development. They just launched and put in place a learning management system that any employee can get to through Paylocity and start doing training. Now, that will continue to grow and continue to get better, but that came as a direct result from what we heard from our survey. That's what our employees want. So that's how we're going to act.
That's so effective. I think, and I applaud, management and leadership for taking action. It's just happened in August or fall time, and we're already making strides in areas of improvement. That means a lot to me as an employee and shareholder. So I appreciate that explanation as well. I'm going to end with a little challenging question for you. In 10 words or less. Okay. Stop right there, right?
Yeah.
In 10 words or less, what does all of this mean moving forward in 2024?
Well,
I'm kidding about the 10
words. I was going to say, let's start with, I've never done anything in my life in 10 words. So, what I would say is, as you're doing the survey, we really want to know, let us know what we do right and where we can improve. We try very hard to look at these survey results. We have a leadership team that looks at these results, and we're very happy that we have 68% participation rate. Very happy we have 75% of our employees engaged. And after about 10 minutes of saying, hey, that really feels good, we look at it and say, okay, we have 25% that aren't. Why not?
Why not?
We have 32% that didn't participate. Why not? Because that's where our focus needs to be, where we can be better. So it feels good to know what we do right, but this is a continuous improvement thing. So I know that wasn't 10 words.
No, definitely wasn't 10 words, but it's okay. And it was really well spoken. Thank you so much. Really appreciate this conversation about the employee engagement survey. It's something that it's important to all of us. I think it will resonate moving forward. So thanks again, Clark. Appreciate it, as always.
Well, thanks for doing this.
Clark Spitzer.